What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
UFC 243 just happened this past Saturday, headlined by Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya for the the middleweight championship of the world. Whittaker's been out because of dude's had some bad health luck, let's just say. But he's healthy. He showed up. Didn't have to pull out. Israel Adesanya, same, showed up, although Israel's probably one of the most active fighters other than Cowboy Cerrone. But came in, looked great. It was out in Melbourne, Australia. And it was funny. Before this started, the whole thing was like, we're going to sell out. We're going to break records. The last time the record was Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm when Ronda Rousey lost, which was a crazy fight. But that one set the record at like 56,000 and change. And then this one leading up to it, when they're like going through like all the records that kept getting broken at this stadium, like they did the Ronda Rousey home one at 46,000, whatever. And this one's at 57,000 plus. Like, basically, they could have easily just given away 300 tickets to just bump it up over. If it was close to, like, I wonder how many were actually sold, how many tickets were actually sold. Because it's like, they didn't blow that record away. It was just, and they didn't give an actual number. It was just basically the bare minimum you would need to break a record for attendance. So anyway, so that was an interesting kind of like, this card probably didn't sell as well. I mean, pay-per-view probably did pretty good, but it probably didn't sell as well as they had hoped in Australia with the matchup. And I think part of that's probably Robert Whittaker, not the most flamboyant guy, not the biggest salesperson, very much like a GSP type. But and then Israel Adesanya, definitely more of a salesperson when it comes to hyping fights. I don't necessarily agree with the comparison of Izzy and Conor. They're completely different styles. Israel Adesanya he creates a lot of content, and he's well spoken in how he breaks things down, and I guess you could say talks shit. But as far as like, not to the level of Conor is trying to fluster his opponents pre-fight. He's trying to win the fight before they even get in the cage. Where Israel Adesanya is more of trying to sell the fight, and not really, doesn't seem to be trying to defeat his opponent verbally before they get in the ring. But he is definitely well spoken, such as Conor McGregor. Like, as far as he has a very unique way of putting out his message, and I enjoy it. I think he's amazing. I think his fighting style is amazing. It was a crazy fight. He was basically doing like a lot of engagement. I don't know if Whittaker didn't really seem as good as, he definitely looks smaller than Adesanya. There was definitely a size difference, but for whatever reason, Whittaker, maybe it's just because I haven't seen him in a while, he didn't have that same kind of style. He seemed like he was a little bit more aggressive than normal. And he's usually aggressive, but more of a tactician. And that could have just been, nerves, or maybe just Adesanya made him look bad. I would love to rewatch this fight. It wasn't the war that I thought it might be. It was a quick, it was over in the second round, and Adesanya was getting, Whittaker was landing some shots, but Adesanya was just landing more. Every time Whittaker would go to engage, Adesanya would do like his Matrix fucking leaned back, but still throwing. Like, so it's similar to what Anderson Silva would do, where he would lean back to avoid taking shots or roll with shots. But Anderson wouldn't throw. Like, Israel was countering constantly and landing a lot, and was able to put Robert Whittaker down and get a knockout. And it was just a great fight. A lot of other great fights. Al Iaquinta fell short. Dan Hooker I think the length Al wasn't able to get in. Tai Tuivasa, I think he gave up in that fight. He didn't look that great. I mean, on the feet, they were throwing hands, but once it got to the ground, like the other guy shouldn't have been able to get that triangle up against the cage. Tai Tuivasa got himself away from the cage to allow him, an out in the fight. And I think even I don't even think I think he I don't know, man. It looked like he gave up. The other heavyweight fight, Yorgan De Castro versus Justin Tafa. Woo! They were throwing, and like both guys hurt. But there was a time when Tafa was charging like a bull, and they were both throwing punches. Castro landed first, and Tafa just like you see in videos online where they're like being charged by a large animal and they get put down right before they attack. Tafa like hit the ground and skid. You could almost see like imaginary dust flying up as he skidded to the feet of Castro, and Castro just walked. It was a crazy end to a fight. But yeah, just a lot of good fights. The early fights were great. The early prelim fights, a decent amount of decisions, but the overall, the pay-per-view was pretty exciting. The crowd was awesome. And the main event was great. I really enjoyed it. Interesting to see Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. That's going to be a hell of a fight. So moving on, next week, we have next October 12th from Tampa, Florida. It's UFC Fight Night. Jacek versus Watterson. Karate Hottie versus formerly Joanna champion. Now she's just Joanna contender. Cub Swanson versus Kron Gracie. I love Cub Swanson, but I'm not confident that he's going to win this one. I'm sure if he can keep it on his feet, then Kron is going to be the worst to deal with on the ground. So, but still an interesting fight. I hope Cub wins. And then the main event, I think Michelle Watterson. I think it's her time. She's kind of on a come up. And Joanna seems like the reality that she's living in versus what her career trajectory has been and the problems she's had. She's making a lot of excuses, it seems like, but I don't know if she realizes that she's making excuses. I think that she's putting blame in the other places rather than maybe she just needs to fix her game. I don't know. I think she's coming off a win though, but that'll be a great fight. Overall, it's going to be a fun card. Mackenzie Dern is fighting. Interesting to see if she makes weight. Frivola versus Pena. Eric Anders versus Mearshart. James Vick versus Nico Price. That's going to be crazy. That's the feature bout for the prelims. Who else? Tim Elliott's back. Max Griffin. J.J. Aldrich. Just looking forward to this card. It's ESPN Plus, so be easy to watch on the ESPN Plus app, which I am a fan of. Works very well. But yeah, that's it for the episode of the UFC stuff. Really fun card, 243. That's it for this episode. New episodes come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork over at InspiredDisorder.com and save 25% when you use coupon code RTS. Follow me on social media at Ray Taylor. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.